So goes the news for this Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us.
Stay tuned now for Mike Scinto Live. Today's topic deals with building your own patio decks.
As we close out, let's take a visit to a waterfall in Vandalia.
Take care.
Join me for the Money Plan tonight at 6, 7, and 11.
Now, live from the studios of 1290 WHIO, your chance to take part in the Miami Valley's only midday radio talk forum. 1290 WHIO and Television 7 proudly present this simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show.
And we say good morning to John, who is calling us from West Carrollton. You're on the air with Harold Francis, Mr. Fix-It, about your patio deck. Hi.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Harold.
Good morning.
I have a question, sir. I've got a new deck. I put it in about 8 or 9 months ago, and we use the wood that's preserved, for 20 years.
Yes.
And I would like to know, I was thrown for a loop the other day when I asked the guy at Sherwin-Williams about staining it. And he said you put on the waterproof first and then the stain.
That's true. That's correct. He gave you the right information.
Well, I tell you, I was getting ready to put on the stain and then the waterproof.
Well, I don't know how that would work, but whenever you build a deck, regardless of what material you use, the first order of the day is to seal it, because the nature, I'm sure you've seen boards lay on the ground, and they get damp underneath. They draw dampness underneath.
Right.
The hot sun cooks the dampness out of the top. If they dry too quick, they curl up. In other words, they'll get like a saucer. And the idea of the water seal is when the boards, when you first put it down, it's in a normal position. You paint it with a sealer. That keeps the water from soaking into the wood. And consequently, if there isn't any water there, there's nothing for the sun to cook out. So it will, it'll keep it from curling. It'll also have a tendency to keep it from checking, which is just hairline cracks in wood. I'm sure you've seen wood that checks just from the weather.
Yes.
Or split. And it'll take care of all of those things, plus the fact that it will help preserve the natural color of the wood.
John, I appreciate your call.
Well, let me ask you one thing.
Real quickly, yeah.
What type of sealer should a person use?
Well, there are any number of them. Thompson's water seal.
Okay. And then just put the stain over top of the seal.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and good luck to you.
Thanks.
In case you haven't figured out yet, for the TV audience, Harold Francis, aside from sitting there falling asleep, is talking about sitting there on a deck that he built, by the way. I don't know, do we have the capability of pulling back and showing? I mean, I like your beautiful face there, Harold, but...
well, you confused me, Mike. You said we were going to talk about decks, and I had the table here.
Look at this thing.
They found out I had a marked deck, so they wouldn't. I had to get rid of my friends.
Now, Harold, can the people at home... Now, could the average guy be able to build that for...
Well, I like to think I'm the average guy, and I built this one.
Okay. Is this just in materials alone? Now, you don't have to give us a price, but is that expensive in materials alone?
No, not at all. Not compared to other things.
But if you had somebody come out and build it, it might cost you an arm and a leg.
Well, it'll cost more than a good cigar, but I think, in fact, I'm not going to write this in blood, but I think all the materials for this deck, right here where I'm standing, comes to around $1,000.
So if somebody knew how to do that, and you're saying the average guy with a hammer and nails and a saw could probably put that deck together.
Well, all you need is a saw, a square, and a hammer. And let's see, if you're going to put, I didn't have to make a foundation since I'm here on this, but you'd have to have a way to dig a hole and pour a little cement or either that or tamp the posts in. You don't have to cement them. But we'll get into that later. I'd like to show you how the options.
And we're going to do that. In fact, we have. Let me ask you one more quick question before we take a break, Harold. The man was asking about staining. Do you prefer staining or painting a deck?
Oh, I would stain it by all means. In fact, I like it just the way it is.
You like it natural. Now, what color will that fade to? It's a natural, sort of a light brown now. Will that fade to another color?
Eventually, if it isn't taken care of, it depends on a lot what you do to it. If you do nothing to this, eventually this thing will turn, well, we call it black. It isn't actually black. It's a real dark gray, like any other wood. But there's also a product for those people that have a deck and haven't taken care of it. You can rejuvenate it. There's a product called Dexwood. There's another one that I can't recall the name right now that you paint on just like sealer, and just like magic, it'll bring the wood back to its natural state.
Okay, and just
so it's never too late.
All right, and just like magic, we're going to show you how to build or to work on your decks. Harold Francis is with us at PK Alex Bell right now and in the parking lot, and we're going to show you how you can participate in the Mike Scinto Show, coming to you live from the studios of 1290 WHIO, the facilities of Television 7, about your patio decks. Give us a call.
You can take part in the Mike Scinto Show by calling 457-1290 or toll-free anywhere in Ohio. 1-800-345-1290.
Harold Francis is with us at the PK Alex Bell location. Before we go to the phones, and our lines are loaded, so please be patient. If you get a busy signal, please try back. I have to say, our director, Bob Ramon, said patio decks. Nobody's going to call about patio decks. I knew the phones would be loaded because Harold and I had talked about it, and bunches of them being sold this year and being built this year. Harold, you're down in a demonstration area. Before we go to the phones, why don't you show us some aspect of building a deck?
Well, naturally, the first thing if you're going to build a deck is to put you have to put supports under it. So I don't have any way to dig holes here or cement them in, but I've simulated. This is a 4x4 that you use for support. There's various ways. Then you put a beam across it. I don't know. Can you get a shot of that?
We've got it. We can see it, Harold.
There's several ways to do that. Now, when you put the post in, they have all sorts of things. You can fasten this on the post and then set the beam on this thing. Or there's another way to do it. Down here, I've nailed 2x4s on each side of the post. The beam sets in that yoke, and then you build your deck on top. Now, when you get to putting the deck itself, the framing up, there's several ways we can do that. If you don't want to buy anything, you can use this back here, this little 2x2 is a bearing strip, and you fasten that on your plate and then cut notches in the floor joist to fit on that for extra support. Or there's what they have, joist hangers like this little gizmo right here that fastens both to the band and to the floor joist. So when you lay these things off, it's permissible. You can go up to 2 feet, but I like to support them every 16 inches. That's the normal thing.
Now,
then you get better support, even if you can use 2x6s rather a lot of times instead of 2x8s by having them on 16s rather than 24.
Now, Harold, for those people who are watching this and are listening to it on the radio or watching it, and they're not picking all this up, anybody at most lumber facilities, lumber houses, this is all basic things that they could go in and ask about. I mean, it looks fairly simple the way you're describing it.
Right. Well, it is simple. In fact, most of this stuff, Mike, like these the railings around here, these come pre-assembled in sections. Like you can buy them in 4, 5, or 6 foot sections. The posts are cut out for your railing. If you'll excuse my back, the posts are notched out. After you put the floor down, you get the posts on, and then you can set those at intervals, whatever divides out nice for your railing. And there's just you're only limited by your imagination. You can make railings and all this sort of thing that actually, when we built this, when they asked me to build this thing, they asked me not to make it fancy, and that's why this thing is made so that the average person can do it.
Okay, I tell you what, let's take. We got a couple of folks hanging on, Harold, who've been hanging on for a while. Let's take a quick phone call first. Lee from Huber Heights. Hi.
Hi. Yes.
Yes.
I was wondering, what's the standard measurements for runners and risers on stairs leading up to the deck?
Well, the way you do that, I'm glad you asked that. That's an important thing. The way you do that, you're not allowed to have more than an 8-inch rise. So you measure the rise from where it's going to finish up to the top. Like here's 30 inches. Well, you're not allowed to be over 8, so that means you'd have 4/8 or 32. So you'd have the 2. You divide it out like you'd be 7 3/4. Now, the ideal thing on a stairway is to have the sum total of the run and the rise should be 17.5 inches, and it'll be comfortable. So if you have like 7.5 inches and a 10-inch run. Now, if you want to make a stairway, I can show you real quick how to do that. On your square, I don't know whether the cameraman can get around this close or not, but if you're going to take a plank and go across, and you'd have 7.5 inches and plus the 10 inches, and you mark it on like that, and just slide down and repeat that, and that will give you the rise and the run, and you just cut it out. But all you do is divide the height into anything less than 8 inches. You're not allowed to have more than an 8-inch rise.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Sure does.
Okay, Lee, thank you very much for calling. And by the way, Harold is going to stick around in our next hour on the radio and answer general fix-up questions. He's as handy with everything else around the house as he is with this. We say hello to Greg from DeGraff, Ohio. Hi.
Hi, I've got a question for Harold. I live in a log home, and instead of using 4x4 dimension lumber, I want to use round cedar posts for, of course, I'll use the treated lumber for the decking. But I'm having a hard time finding 12 or 14-foot cedar posts to start this deck.
Well, they're available. I can't tell you right offhand, but I bought some of those several years ago and used them for supports for a large outdoor roofed-in area.
So he probably ought to just call around, spend a little more time on the phone.
Yeah, they're available. You can buy those things. They're almost like telephone poles. In fact, I suppose you could buy those if necessary.
Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We're going to take a quick break, and Harold will be back to answer more of your patio deck questions. If you are hanging on the line, if you want to know about restaining, staining decks to begin with, building decks, Harold Francis, Mr. Fix-It, is with us, and you're listening to and watching the Mike Scinto Show on 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Harold Francis, Mr. Fix-It, is with us at PK Alex Bell. He's loving this because we've, for so many years, have done radio shows together, and he always says, I'm using my hands and nobody can see me. Well, now they can see you using your hands, Harold. Let's go back to the phones. We've got a bunch of people hanging on. Callers will ask you to keep your questions as brief as possible so that we can get to all of you. Sandy from Brookville, hi.
Hi.
Yes.
We have a 12-by-12 concrete patio that we would like to build a bigger deck on top of. Is that possible, or do we have to chip out the concrete and get it?
Oh no! Don't destroy a good foundation. You can put it right on the concrete. In fact, that's much better.
How would you do that? Could you bury it in the dirt?
Well, do you want to raise it up, or do you want to? Are you going to raise it up, or you just want to put the wood right on the concrete?
We can't raise it very much. At the most, about 6 or 4 inches.
Well, if you want to make it up 4 inches, frame it in 2x4s, and you can anchor them to the concrete. Or if you want to, you could put the deck boards right down. You can glue it to the concrete with the same thing they use for roof flooring. Well, I've done that, and it works pretty good.
We want to make it bigger than that area, so would we just think...
When you run out over, what you'd have to do, I think, what I would do is run the, if you only want 4 inches, run the 2x4s out to the edge like this was your deck, and then drop down and run the full support under it from there on.
Oh, okay.
You do much like we did over here outside of that, but raise it high enough that you can run 2x4s right over the concrete. Does that answer your question?
Yes, right. Thanks a lot.
The same thing will work.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We go to Tracy in Pittsburgh, Ohio. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, Tracy.
Okay, my question is, I heard you talking about the stains and stuff, and I was wondering if you should wait, they say 6 months or something like that. How long should you wait to put repellent on or whatever?
He who hesitates is lost. I wouldn't wait at all, because all that happens, the lumber has a tendency to pick up an awful lot of water, and it'll start discoloring the day you make it. Usually I try to pick out the nice side of the board, put the best side up, and if you put the sealer on and stain it right away, I think it's better. I know you'll find people that don't agree with me, but you know, I've had that all my life. But that's my own honest opinion. The quicker you do it, the better.
Tracy, thank you. I bet you've never had a call from Pittsburgh before, have you, Harold?
No, not really.
Okay.
I've been expecting one from Art Rooney, but
what do you have there?
Well, we did. Bill Blair is the manager here, and he said when we built this thing, see, this is really not as a deck. This is really a display of deck materials that are available. So he said, don't make anything fancy, but just to show the people at home, last year I made arches on a gazebo like the ones here. I don't know whether you can see that thing or not. And he said, well, people like that, but they don't know how to do it. And I just want to tell you real quick how to do that. You take a 2x4, 2x6, whatever you like, find one with straight grain and no knots, and that isn't too hard to do. Then rip it in like 1/4-inch slats, and this is a piece of a 2x10 that I cut a curve, and you make the curve slightly smaller than the area you're going to wind up, because it'll give some when you release it. But in other words, you put this thing together, clamp it down, and you can bend that right around the form. And what you do, I don't have time to do the whole thing here, but you take a series of these, you paint it with glue, then put another one on, and you can make that as thick as you want. Usually the other piece of material that we use on that sort of thing is, if I can find it here.
Oh, that's okay, Harold.
See, this has got a groove in it. If you make this the same size, it'll look real nice when you make that. So you just curve that thing around, glue it, curve it, leave the glue dry, and you can put some nails or screws in it. Then make a frame out of this and cut the lattice to fit it. And I think it's real attractive. I mean, normally when you think of a gazebo, for some reason I think of the arches, and I like them, and people can do that real easy. It takes time, but it's not difficult. All
right, Harold Francis, Mr. Fix-It, is with us. He's going to be with us again in our next hour to talk about any kind of fix-up projects around your house, including decks. So don't go anywhere. If it is around the house, he can fix it for you or tell you how to fix it. We say hello to Jim from Butler Township. Hi.
Hi, Mike. Got a question for Harold on the decking itself, the planking. I see places advertise 1x6s. I see other places talk about a 5/4 or 4/5 board, a decking plank.
Just a second. I'll back up here what you're talking about. We happen to have one here. This is 5/4 deck board, and it's the most attractive thing I think that you can use. And incidentally, I forgot to mention before, when you put your planks down, they're recommended. I don't know what. Can you see these lines?
Yes, we can.
The curves?
Yeah, we can see them now.
That's the way the board is cut out of the tree. Now, this is the bark side, the upper side, and that's the way you should put it down. If you put it upside down, it'll have more tendency to, the edges will curl up. But if you put these down, and then while we're talking about it, if you nail it down, I prefer nailing them with these screw-type nails, and they're galvanized. Always use galvanized nails outside. They won't rust, and they don't bleed and discolor the wood. These things actually turn. I don't know whether the noise would be too prohibitive. I could drive some and show you.
Drive one, sure. What the heck?
What the heck, yeah. Live it up. I better have a hammer.
Okay, or do it with your hand, Harold, like I've seen you do before.
Well, yeah, but people think I'm showing off when I push them in. I don't know whether you can see this thing turn, but see, that turns just like a screw. And heaven help you when you have to pull that loose. But when you're nailing a deck down, I'm not going to drive another nail.
Thank you.
Stay within, like within ½ inch and drive them on an angle. We call it toe nailing. It'll hold a lot better. And the one on this side, angle it that way.
All right, listen, I've got to take a break. Jim, thank you, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Callers on the line, hang on. We'll be back as the Mike Scinto Show continues. Coming to you live from the studios of 1290 WHIO Radio and the facilities of Television 7. Back to the phones. We say hello to Elaine from Mad River. You're on with Harold Francis. Mr. Fix-It, hi.
It's Helene.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Elaine. Hello, Helene.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. You had a real brief question so we don't run out of time, okay?
Okay, where our house was built was wood before, so we've had a termite problem. We put in treated wood around our garden. If we wanted to make a patio cover or that type of thing, when and how would we treat the wood for termites?
Well, all this wood that we've used here is pressurized lumber, and termites won't. It's already treated. Termites won't touch it, and it won't rot.
Even in an area that may be termite infested, once it's been treated, you're okay.
You can bury it right in with the termites. They won't eat that.
All right. We say hello. Thanks for calling. We say hello to Lori. You had a brief question from Bell Fountain. Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
I was wondering...
Let me get you to speak way up for us, okay?
I was wondering, what do you do to a deck that's already been built? We bought the home, and it needs it needs to have something put on it because it's discolored.
Well, if wood discolors, there's the only one I can think of, the brand name is Dex Wood. It's a liquid that you paint on just like varnish, and it'll restore the wood to its natural color.
Okay. And
there are some other products, but I can't name them right offhand.
What about the Thompson sealer?
Well, Thompson sealer will protect the wood, but it won't bring out the color again. Once wood discolors, like any old wood like that truck there, once that discolors, Thompson sealer won't bring it back. You have to use something else to bleach that wood out to get it back to the natural color, then put the Thompson sealer on to keep it that way.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. By the way, we have a show on 1290 WHIO radio called Ask an Expert. Harold is in normally on Fridays. He'll be on this Friday from 1 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon answering general fix-up questions. The host of that show is Pam McGinnis. Harold, again, for those people, and we don't really have time to take another call, but we're going to ask the folks to hang on. Our lines are still busy. Going to ask them to hang on until next hour when you'll be answering general fix-up questions for us. But the average guy could put this... Some of the things sound Greek to us because we're not used to doing it, but the people listening on the radio and those people watching could go into most home centers and find out all the things you were just talking about.
Right. Yeah, there's volumes written on decks or whatever, and you can even buy the videotapes now for some of these things, or just talk to someone. Or call WHIO. That's a good way to find out. Okay, and Fridays, Harold is on with us again on Ask an Expert. He'll be on periodically. We're going to do this, Harold, have you on to talk about putting up drywall if you're adding a room on, and do specific things and show people exactly how to do it. I thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back here in just for the next hour in just a little while to talk to people hanging on the lines. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Francis, otherwise known as Mr. Fix-It. We've heard the dispute over assault weapons. We're going to bring assault weapons into your home tomorrow. Okay, we're going to show you exactly what assault weapons are, what they can do with experts firing them on this portion of the show. Go out there and make it a fantastic day. Be careful. Enjoy it.
This simulcast segment of the Mike Scinto Show was a presentation of 1290 WHIO Radio and Television 7. Join us tomorrow morning for another exciting guest and conversation. The Mike Scinto Show can be heard weekdays from 9 till 1 on AM 1290 WHIO.